Humanity is magnificent because every person is created by God, loved by God, and called into communion. That is the heart of Magnifica Humanitas. This encyclical is not mainly about machines. It is about the human person in an age when machines are becoming more powerful. Artificial intelligence forces us to ask a deeper question than what can technology do? The deeper question is, what kind of human beings are we becoming? Pope Leo XIV begins with Christ because only Christ reveals the full truth of the human person. As the encyclical says, the mystery of humanity truly becomes clear in the Word made flesh. So the standard for the digital age is not speed, it is not efficiency, it is not profit. The standard is human dignity. We are living through the new things of our time. Artificial intelligence, robotics, digital platforms, automation, and technological systems that increasingly shape daily life. These tools influence how we work, communicate, learn, vote, buy, imagine, and relate to one another. The encyclical warns us with a sentence that should make us pause. Never has humanity had such power over itself. That power can be used for healing, education, connection, creativity, and service. But power without wisdom becomes dangerous. Power without love can become domination. So the question is not simply whether we will use technology. We already do. The real question is, will technology be guided by the dignity of the person, or will the person be reshaped to serve technology? The encyclical names one of the great dangers of our age, the Babel syndrome. Babel is the temptation to build a world of control. It is the dream of one system, one language, one tower, one ambition. It looks impressive, but it is built on pride. In the digital age, Babel appears when profit becomes more important than people, when human beings are reduced to data, when efficiency replaces wisdom, and when the weak are sacrificed for the success of the system. The danger is not technology itself. The danger is technology without God, without humility, and without the human person at the center. Babel promises unity, but it produces confusion. It promises progress, but it forgets the soul. Nehemiah gives us another way. He does not rebuild Jerusalem through force or spectacle. He begins with prayer. He listens. He gathers the people. He gives each family part of the work. He rebuilds not only walls, but trust. This is the image we need for our technological future. No one can carry this responsibility alone. Scientists have a role. Engineers have a role. Parents, teachers, lawmakers, workers, business leaders, churches, and communities all have a role. The encyclical says, no one can single-handedly bear the weight of the challenges before us. That is not weakness. That is communion. The future must be built together, or it will not be worthy of the human person. The foundation of everything is human dignity. Every person has a value that comes before achievement, intelligence, wealth, status, usefulness, or productivity. Pope Leo XIV says it plainly. Human dignity does not depend on a person's abilities, wealth, or position in life. That sentence matters in the age of artificial intelligence, because a technological society can begin to value people only by what they produce, how fast they work, how much data they generate, or how useful they are to the economy. But the person is not a product. The person is not a tool. The person is not a data point. The dignity of the child, the elderly, the sick, the disabled, the poor, the migrant, the unemployed, and the forgotten must never be negotiated away. Human life has value because it is loved by God. To guide the digital age, the Church gives us principles strong enough to carry the weight of real life. The common good asks whether society helps people flourish. The universal destination of goods reminds us that the gifts of creation, knowledge, and human creativity are meant for everyone, not only for the powerful. Subsidiarity protects human agency and local responsibility. Solidarity refuses indifference. Social justice asks whether our institutions actually protect the vulnerable and serve the dignity of all. These principles belong together. They help us judge whether technology is serving integral human development. A future is not truly developed if it leaves the poor behind, weakens families, exploits workers, damages creation, or treats people as replaceable. True progress must serve the whole person and the whole human family. The technocratic paradigm begins when efficiency becomes the highest value. At first, that can sound reasonable. We want systems that work. We want tools that save time. We want better processes. But when efficiency becomes the measure of everything, people begin to be judged as efficient or inefficient, useful or useless, optimized or obsolete. The weak become burdens. The poor become invisible. Workers become replaceable. Relationships become simulated. Judgment becomes outsourced. A society can become technologically advanced and spiritually poor at the same time. The encyclical warns us not to confuse power with wisdom. More speed does not always mean more truth. More automation does not always mean more freedom. More connection does not always mean more communion. Technology must serve the person, not define the person. Artificial intelligence is powerful, but it is not human. It can process data, generate language, recognize patterns, and imitate certain forms of reasoning. But imitation is not identity. The encyclical says these systems merely imitate human intelligence. They do not have bodies. They do not suffer. They do not love. They do not pray. They do not forgive. They do not bear moral responsibility. That distinction is essential. A machine can give an answer, but it cannot grow in wisdom. It can simulate conversation, but it cannot offer itself in love. It can assist human judgment, but it cannot replace conscience. So AI should remain a tool. A powerful tool, yes. A useful tool, yes. But never a substitute for the human heart. The myths of transhumanism tell us that human beings are unfinished machines, waiting to be upgraded. They promise a future beyond weakness, beyond limitation, beyond dependence, and even beyond ordinary humanity. But Christianity sees the person differently. We are not machines to be optimized. We are persons made for love. We are relational, vulnerable, embodied, dependent, and called to communion. Not every limit is an enemy. Sometimes limitation is where love becomes visible. Dependence teaches care. Fragility calls forth mercy. Weakness can become the place where grace enters. The encyclical says that finitude does not diminish us. A future that removes weakness but loses love would not be progress. It would be a new poverty. Humanity must be safeguarded through truth, work, and freedom. Truth matters because without truth, public life collapses into manipulation. Work matters. Because people need more than income. They need dignity, participation, creativity, and the ability to contribute to the world. Freedom matters because digital systems can quietly shape our attention, desires, choices, and habits. Technology is not the enemy, but technology must be placed under moral wisdom. When technology serves truth, work, and freedom, it can help human beings flourish. But when technology dominates them, the person becomes a means to someone else's goal. That is why the encyclical calls us to keep technology at the service of the human person. Truth is a common good. That means truth is not merely private. It is not just my opinion against yours. Truth is something society needs in order to live together. Democracy depends on truth. Trust depends on truth. Justice depends on truth. When communication systems reward outrage, falsehood, and manipulation, society becomes easier to divide and easier to control. The encyclical says, the search for truth is an essential element of democracy. That is why the digital age requires more than access to information. It requires formation in judgment. We need transparency. We need critical education. We need responsibility from platforms and users alike. A society that loses truth does not become freer. It becomes easier to manipulate. Work is not only a way to earn money. Work is part of human dignity. Through work, people support families, develop talents, serve others, and participate in society. Artificial intelligence may bring real benefits, but it also brings real risks. Job insecurity, unemployment, inequality, surveillance, de-skilling, and systems that force workers to adapt to machines instead of designing machines to support workers. A humane economy cannot treat workers as disposable. Technology should help people work with greater dignity, not make them feel replaceable. Innovation should include formation, fair transitions, and protection for those most affected. The question is not only whether AI increases productivity. The question is whether it protects the dignity of the worker. Freedom in the digital age is fragile. We may feel free because we have endless choices on a screen. But real freedom is deeper than choice. Real freedom requires truth. It requires self-mastery. It requires protection from manipulation. It requires the ability to think, reflect, pray, love, and act responsibly. Digital systems can capture attention, shape desire, and guide behavior without us noticing. The encyclical warns that platforms often capture time and attention by exploiting vulnerability. So we need education in moderation. We need fair rules for data. We need protection from addiction, surveillance, and exploitation. A person is not truly free when desire is engineered from the outside. Technology should expand freedom, not colonize the soul. The digital age also reveals a deeper spiritual conflict, the culture of power against the civilization of love. The culture of power seeks control. It trusts force. It accepts domination. It treats people and nations as obstacles, instruments, or threats. The civilization of love is different. It is built on justice, mercy, fraternity, truth, and the common good. Pope Leo XIV says the civilization of love is no naive utopia. It is demanding. It requires courage, sacrifice, institutions, diplomacy, forgiveness, and daily conversion. Love is not weakness. Love is the strongest foundation for a human society. Technology must be judged by this standard. Does it build communion, or does it strengthen domination? Artificial intelligence becomes especially dangerous when it enters war. It can accelerate targeting, surveillance, propaganda, cyber attacks, and decisions about life and death. But no algorithm can carry conscience. No machine can mourn the dead. No system can answer before God for the taking of human life. Human responsibility must never be hidden behind automation. The encyclical warns that AI can reduce the enemy to a statistic. That is one of the gravest dangers of technological war. When the human face disappears, violence becomes easier. The more powerful our weapons become, the more urgent human responsibility becomes. A machine must never be treated as a moral agent. Peace is not passive. Peace is hard work. It requires justice, truth, memory, dialogue, diplomacy, and courage. The global order today is weakened by mistrust, disinformation, economic interests, war, and the failure of cooperation. But the encyclical refuses despair. We can disarm words. We can reject aggressive rhetoric. We can listen to victims. We can rebuild trust. We can strengthen diplomacy and multilateral cooperation. We can choose justice instead of cynicism. Peace begins when we refuse to treat others as enemies to be destroyed. The encyclical reminds us that nothing is lost with peace, but with war, everything can be lost. That truth remains urgent. The construction site of our time is the human future itself. We cannot change everything alone, but each of us has a section of the wall. We can choose truth over manipulation. We can choose dignity over efficiency. We can choose solidarity over indifference. We can choose communion over control. The encyclical calls us to become builders of communion, not architects of Babel. That is the final invitation. Do not build a tower for human pride. Build a city where the human person can flourish. Do not let technology make humanity smaller. Let wisdom, justice, and love make humanity more fully itself. And let the human heart remain what God created it to be, the place where love, conscience, and communion can dwell.